I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
AOC just shocked everybody by suddenly changing her tune, but I'm not buying it, and neither are a whole lot of other folks. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, your home for independent and nonpartisan commentary and analysis on politics, media, internet culture, and more. And we're going to be checking in with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the self-described socialist, ultra-progressive, and firebrand social media star in terms of the Democratic Party as well. She's a very popular figure, and she may be attempting a bit of a rebrand ahead of maybe, just saying, a 2028 presidential or vice presidential nomination or campaign. And she did that, I think, that attempt at a little bit of a rebrand during an interview on ABC News this weekend. Here's the headline from Mediaite, quote, "Woke one was crazy. AOC distances herself from anti-Thanksgiving socialists' prior stances." Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez joked Wisconsin gubernatorial candidate Francesca Hong went a bit too far left for her tastes with Hong's call to abolish cops, prisons, and even Thanksgiving during a Sunday morning interview on ABC's This Week. Let's watch that clip, and then we're going to get into some of the pushback and questions that people have for AOC's sudden disdain for woke one.
The abolished prisons, abolished police, which is also positions that have been taken by a lot of the progressive candidates who have won. How do you get around that? I mean, those are not positions that are supported by most of
I mean, I think that a lot of these races, even right now, they'll have a tendency to be nationalized. But these races ultimately are local, and all politics are local. My understanding is that that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from all
right,
that.
she's moved away from it. And I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's interesting.
So there's a lot to unpack here. And to translate what she's saying, she's quipping that like woke one was crazy, trying to distinguish woke 1.0, what we saw in the early 2020s after the death of George Floyd, all the hyper identity politics stuff, from kind of the current stage of progressive or leftist politics, which she would label woke 2.0. And she's trying to say, well, you know, some of that was goofy or crazy or what have you. And it's like, well, was it though? Because many of us thought so at the time. I still think so today. But one, people like AOC gaslit us at the time and called us racist for questioning any of it. And two, have you really shifted on the underlying beliefs? Those are all the questions I have for Miss AOC about this cute little attempted rebrand. Anyway, I thought this was interesting. The YouTube political commentator ShoeOnHead pointed this clip out and said on X, haha, woke one was crazy. But if you said woke one was crazy during woke one, you were a fascist, racist Nazi. So whatever progressive politicians are talking about right now, they'll just say woke two was crazy in a way. In 5 years, incredible stuff. I think ShoeOnHead makes a good point here about this. It's like, hang on, can you really just push a very divisive and radical agenda for years, double down on it, attack the motives, integrity, and morals of anyone who questions it, and then a couple years later, when it's perhaps politically convenient, now that you're looking at maybe running nationwide or maybe seeking some kind of broader or higher office than the one that you hold for just a deep blue district, suddenly you just want to hand wave it all away and say, well, woke one was crazy, guys. It was, but you need to actually take accountability for it, explain everything you got wrong, apologize to everyone you called racist, and maybe then we could trust some sort of genuine evolution. Although, as you'll see, no real evolution has really occurred. Anyway, I want to keep going here, and I want to bring to your attention an old tweet from AOC herself, her official account. Quote, this is from 2021, I believe. Woke is a term pundits are now using as a derogatory euphemism for civil rights and justice. Making up a, quote, woke problem results in putting civil and voting rights on the back burner in a year state legislatures are planning out GOP majorities and voter suppression. That's dangerous. So AOC just a few years ago was suggesting that woke was a fake problem, it wasn't real, and that it was dangerous to criticize it or call on Democrats to moderate on some of this stuff. And she was saying woke just means justice. And she's basically saying that, like, you're just mad at Black people for advocating for equality. So she very much threw slings and arrows at people who even disagreed with her at the time, and now suddenly she wants to just hand wave it all away, because she's on the record on many of these things. She had said defund the police and other stuff that now, I mean, even very progressive people think was silly, and honestly a lot of them did at the time, but they were shamed into silence by people like AOC. But then there's another layer to this as well. It's like, okay, well, you want to wave away woke one, but are you actually disavowing the underlying crazy policy positions? Or is it just the cringy branding? Like, you know, Nancy Pelosi and all those people kneeling with the African cloths in the Capitol and just kind of the virtue signal and cringe branding of it? Or are you actually admitting you were wrong about some of the underlying issues, like the DEI programs that were identitarian and reverse discriminatory and were racially divisive, like standing 10 toes down on every fake gender identity under the sun and ignoring the science to push medically transitioning minors, all this stuff. Unless you're changing your actual positions, then you simply rejecting the cringiness of woke one is meaningless and actually kind of dishonest. So the conservative think tanker Jesse Arm pointed this out on X, and he wrote, "Which views did AOC or her political allies hold during woke one that they've since moved away from? Sex change operations for children? Biological men and women's sports? Race-based discrimination in hiring and admissions? Decriminalizing theft? Declining to prosecute repeat offenders? Which part of woke one do they now think was crazy?" That's what I want to know. And that would have been a great opportunity for some tough follow-up questions for AOC, because it's kind of cutesy for her, like brand-wise, to say, "Oh yeah, we got a little carried away," or "that was kind of cringe, and now we're not doing so much of that identity stuff, and we're here for economic justice and free shit for everybody." But hang on, no, actually, if you still have the underlying extreme beliefs, then I'm not going to let you get away. We can't let you get away with that attempt at a rebrand. And if you have changed your beliefs, then you need to very carefully explain what changed, why you got it wrong, and how you won't make the same mistake in the future. She's done none of that. But Jonathan Karl just kind of, over on ABC, just kind of credulously lets her quip that and doesn't hone in there when he really should have. If you or your child spent years growing up on social media and experienced serious mental health issues, you should hear this. Recently, a jury ordered Meta and YouTube to pay millions for their role in designing and promoting addictive platforms. They knew their apps could contribute to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, but did not share those risks while prioritizing profits. The recent historic verdict underscores the consequences of those decisions. Now, Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold these platforms accountable for the harm they caused. Click the link in my bio to take a short quiz, as you may be entitled to a potential recovery of over $1,000. Now back to the show. Anyway, some more commentary on this that I found interesting. The former Democratic Party insider, Evan Baker, wrote on X, "AOC's strategy is to laugh away woke one as crazy and pretend it was some kind of mass hysteria. But it ruined careers, pushed an entire cohort of people out of Democratic politics, and is, according to the Dem staffers messaging me after reading my book, still happening inside the party now." Ryan Grimm shared this post from Evan, and Ryan is a leftist journalist, and said Evan's point that woke one is still alive and unwell inside many campaigns and progressive orgs is accurate. Hopefully AOC's knock on it here helps. Obviously, a reckoning with what happened would be preferable, but that feels unrealistic. More achievable is what AOC is trying to do here, laugh at how crazy it was and move to talking about the economy. No, actually, I mean, I understand why Ryan, as a progressive, would want to do that, right? Would want them to just kind of be able to move along and just focus on their socialism and not have to reckon with any of the cultural and social insanity that they wrought and promoted for years and viciously castigated those of us who pushed back on it. Anyway, though, we're not actually going to let y'all get away with that. At least I'm not. I'm going to continue to highlight and scrutinize this stuff because there's a lot of harm that was done, first of all, through these extreme positions. But also, it is a judgment question that when you're at the highest levels of our politics, I know this isn't really a thing, right? So no longer really do we have any sort of character or mental fitness expectations for leaders at the highest levels of our politics, but it should be. And judgmentally, you have shown yourself to be suspect, like you lack discernment and judgment if you were ever on board with some of these nonsensical concepts. And to be honest, then you should just sit down and let somebody else lead progressive politics who didn't fall for the hysteria and slop. So anyway, here's a post from Charles Fain Lehman of the Manhattan Institute. He wrote on X, "I actually think full-grown adults endorsing police abolition don't get to go, just whoopsie." And I really do agree. It's like you fell for madness, you stood for it, you insulted people who disagreed with it, and now you just want to go, haha, that was crazy, LOL, anyway, we're over that, but we're doing this instead. No, Jan, no AOC. We're not going to allow that. We are going to call that out because that is deeply dishonest, and you need to actually reckon with what you've done and what you got wrong. It's okay. I mean, lots of politicians get things very wrong and change their views over time, but it's on us to hold them accountable for that and demand explanations and growth and make them do the work to explain what they got wrong and why they got wrong so they don't do it again. If they just kind of wash their hands of it and rebrand successfully and never face accountability for it, then whatever underlying biases or echo chambers or problems they had in their mental thinking, in their worldview, that let them fall for that slop the first time, it'll all happen again. This isn't a mystery. And here's the real problem with all of this. This is pure political theater from AOC, who is objectively a radical at heart. She is masquerading as some sort of more moderate or more focused progressive, less distracted by the woke stuff. And it is a rebrand, but it is not a change of heart. And how do we know that, guys? Because she is still a dues-paying member of the New York City Democratic Socialists of America chapter, a literal extremist group that's national platform wants to dismantle the U.S.'s entire system of government, have complete open borders, abolish police, abolish prisons, all this woke one stuff she thought she's now attempting to rebrand from, they still stand 10 toes down on, and wants to institute literal socialism, like the government taking over large corporations and all of that. She's still a dues-paying member of the New York City chapter of this group. Listen to Jonathan Karl asking her about this later in that same interview.
Are you still a member of Democratic Socialists of America?
Of the New York City chapter.
The New York City chapter, not the national?
No.
And what's the difference?
So every DSA chapter is formed locally.
Yeah.
And so the New York City DSA chapter, those are folks that you know. It's kind of like your local union chapter.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's kind of like your local union chapter, except many of the members literally support terrorism. Like there's an entire caucus of the DSA that says, no, we don't condemn Hamas. No, we don't condemn October 7th. Like we won't condemn attacks on embassy, all this stuff. It's like, if that is what your local union meeting is like, then I have some questions about your union. Because what? I mean, the DSA's governing body is, I think, majority actually run by people who are communists. We went over some data to that effect or something similar on the show not too long ago. And this is an extremist organization of radicals. So no, the fact that you continue to affiliate yourself with this such a radical, extreme, and deeply unserious organization, it just belies whatever attempted rebrand she's going for with this hand wave of the, oh, woke one got kind of silly, didn't it? Actually, clearly, you don't actually believe that. And you're just trying to rebrand and gaslight or do some marketing or PR ahead of a presidential run or maybe a Senate run or something else where you know you're going to have to appeal a little bit to more moderate or independent voters. Whereas for her, seat in Congress, she just has to get the same, small, deep blue district to reelect her over and over again. If she goes for a raise outside of that, she'll actually need to appeal to a slightly broader swath of the public, which obviously, given her ultra-left views, is difficult. So it's just a deeply dishonest attempt at rebranding. It's not remotely a honest introspection into what she got wrong and into what they're going to do differently to promote a saner progressive politics. At least I'm not buying it. Not buying it at all. And I do wish Jonathan Karl had held her feet to the fire, but she doesn't do a whole lot of TV interviews. At least recently, she hasn't done as many, and she may have picked that one to do because she didn't think she'd get the same grilling as maybe on other shows. Who knows? But anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on this AOC story and clip that's going viral and sparking a lot of discussion and dialogue. So you're going to have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you aren't yet, and do hit the like button to reward my suffering through the gaslighting of AOC this time around. And I do call out the far left and the far right on this channel and try to bring you an independent and honest take on politics and media and all that. So if you want to support that mission, the best way to do so is to become a channel member by hitting the join button or the link in the description to support my work. And regardless, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll be back with more real soon.